regime. He offered him also to divide Jerusalem, to give them all the Arab neighborhood and divide the old city and give them share sovereignty over the Temple Mount. And Arafat said no, and he started a war of terror against us that killed 1,000 of Israeli and injured badly 5,000 after. Other ones. So I'm asking you. So this is the beta. So President Obama is coming in January, he's coming in. And instead of looking what happened, the fact that everything was removing settlement, give them 100% equivalent territory of Judah and Samaria, divided Jerusalem, and look at the rejection and say to himself, you know what? I'm a lawyer, and he's a lawyer. I was even a professor in college. We look at the fact and say, something is wrong. Israel offered twice a state and a capital in Jerusalem to people that didn't have a state. They never capital in Jerusalem. And they're saying no, they're not even giving a counter offer. So instead of learning that, he came to a different conclusion. He arrived at the conclusion that President Bush was too close to Israel. He was too nice to Israel. He was too pro-Israel. And the only way to change the equation and convince the Arabs to accept our amazing offer is by distancing from Israel. And being close, and what do you call it? He wants to engage the Arab world and the Muslim world. So suddenly we start with the speeches. First of all, the first international leader that he called, you know, there's so many, the head of Britain, France, Germany, Russia, China. The first one was Mahmoud Abbas. Mahmoud Abbas was the first international leader, a guy that in 1982 wrote a dissertation denying the Holocaust. His PhD dissertation. Mahmoud Abbas, it was for 37 years, was number 2 to Arafat and was involved in every terrorist attack. This is the one that the President of the United States gives respect to. And then, he didn't finish it. So he's calling, he's doing the first interview to Al Jazeera from all over. There is BBC, even though they're anti-Israel, at least it's a BBC. There's even the New York Times. Okay, Al Jazeera. And then he started with the speech. He went to visit Turkey, a Muslim country that we thought was our greatest friend in the Muslim world. Now they are again an adversary of us. Don't like us anymore. And he talked about the common ground between the United States of America, the leader of the free world, democracy, with the Muslim world. That they have a shared values of our women's rights. Women's rights, you have a shared value. In Saudi Arabia and all the other Arab countries, a woman can only show her little eyelashes. You have common ground with them. You are not allowed, the women are not allowed to vote, to drive. And if they want to go outside, they needed to have a male relative to go outside. If not, immediately they're being destroyed. They are immediately death penalty. This is the people we have common ground. You're giving a speech suddenly. Then he's going to Egypt. And then he's going to Saudi Arabia. And you can remember the big speech, June 5th, also the common ground, and we want to reach the Muslim world, and we can start, because he believes in his mind that if he only distance himself from the Jews, the Jewish state, if he only will reach and apologize, how many apologies did they have till now? To the Iranian, to the Egyptian, to the Saudis, to the Muslim world. What are you apologizing for? For helping those people? For sacrificing American soldiers for the Muslim world? What are you apologizing for? For sacrificing kids in Afghanistan and Iraq and Somalia and Chechnya? And then, in addition to all these great apologies, he then decided to raise a big public confrontation with Israel. You have to understand, he visited Egypt, he bowed. Remember the big down bow to King Abdallah. King Abdallah, they told him how wise he is. How was easy? It's a dictatorship. Totalitarian regime, how wise can it be? And then he mentioned public confrontation with Israel. That obstacle to peace is the settlement. The settlement? I mean, you didn't read the transcript of the meeting of President Bush with Mahmoud Abbas and Bibi Netanyahu and Ehud Olmert? You didn't read the transcript that show that we offer to remove settlement. We remove settlement, all the settlers in Gaza. We remove all the settlers for peace with Egypt. All the people from Sinai we remove. For compromise, for peace, we were willing to give everything to remove every settler. You do notice what's the problem? Suddenly you are raising an issue, a mythical cycling, something that was recycled, that don't make sense about the settlement. You have to understand about the settlement. It's quite amazing. There's so many amazing things about it that shock me. If you take all the settlement in the West Bank, all of the construction since 1967, you accumulate all of them together constitute 1.7%, less than 2% of the West Bank. We have nothing, not even 2%. This is the obstacle. Less than 2%, this is the obstacle. And you have to understand there is 5 major population centers, settlement blocks, that are all mostly, except Ariel, they are mostly along the green line, the 1967 border, that President Clinton and President Bush stated repeatedly. Especially Bush wrote a letter to Sharon confirming in April 14, 2004, and he said, in light of the realities on the ground, including major population centers, Israel will not be expected in any final status negotiation to move or to withdraw to the 1967 lines. This was a written promise to Sharon. And suddenly you as the President of the United States disavowing the agreement? You have to understand, based on this agreement and the guideline for settlement, this is why Sharon dared to remove all the settlers and give all Gaza away, believing, trusting this commitment of the America, our friend. Otherwise we won't get out. It's like Ariel Sharon explained to President Bush. He said to him, about the natural growth, there is some guideline, because the guideline that they found in the roadmap in 2003, and then in later after that, were the following concerning the agreement concerning settlement. 1, Israel will not anymore build new settlement, even though it's less than 2%, no more settlement. 2nd, Israel will not expropriate more land for their settlement. Israel will not give incentive to Israelis to go to settlement. Israel will only be allowed to build for natural growth inside existing boundaries of settlement. And that's what we are doing. We are building inside. If somebody wants to build another room, up or down, it's in the same boundaries. No more land is taken more than the 1.7. No more land is taken outside of 1.7%. It will natural growth, like you want to build a school, there are more people, and he can explain it to Ariel Sharon was a general, and he said to President Bush, you have to understand why it's so important, your guarantee. You have to understand 50% of the combat units in Israel are settlers. They are fighters. All the great fighters of Israel are children of settlers. They are fighting every day to one course, in the beginning of Israel, it was the kibbutzim.